Hi, folks. I'm Lanny Griffith, and welcome to Lanny Has a Podcast. I'm Lanny, and this is my podcast. I'm sharing it today with my good friend Orlando Sanchez, who's running to be our next judge for Harris County. Welcome to the show, Orlando Sanchez. Good to see you.
Always good to see and be with you, Lanny.
Thank you very much. I want to know how things are going on the trail out there. It's been hot, but the crowds have been really big, and you've been all over Harris County.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal for a guy my age, and the heat hasn't helped, and the traffic doesn't help. But as you know, I've lived here since 1962, so I've had the great pleasure of seeing this tiny little town expand to, where it is today is the third largest county in America.
How are the crowds out there? What do they want to know from you? Must have 1,001 questions to ask you.
They do. Obviously this week, if you followed the news, they're concerned about the 12% property tax increase. And, what's funny is that my opponent likes to talk about affordability, but nothing hammers the average citizen more than a new $400 a year property tax. And it's just not their homes. Everybody that owns property, businesses are going to get hammered. And, businesses don't absorb that. They pass it on to the consumer So, Home Depot's going to have to charge more for products, and so is Kroger, and
Restaurants.
it's just an unending spiral. And so they're concerned about the economy. They're concerned about taxes. They're concerned about their safety. We've had some issues here lately with crime. They're just concerned about, the next storm. The flood control district hasn't finished the projects that we approved 8 years ago, for God's sake. So people have a lot of concerns. There's a lot of questions like, what do we do with the Astrodome? How about access to health care? What do we do about the lack of police? The questions are unending from the community, and we're here to try to straighten this ship that's listing called Harris County.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I wonder, I was thinking today, getting ready to talk to you, when these people want to raise taxes, they do know those taxes are going to affect them and their business too, don't they? Or shouldn't they?
Well, yes, if they were businessmen and women, but the commissioners are all public servants. They don't have businesses to run. So, doesn't affect them other than, yes, they're going to have to pay a little more. But if you look at the salaries in Harris County, let me give you an example. Lanny, you know that I was county treasurer for 12 years.
Yes.
And I was never arrested. Let me make that statement perfectly
Okay.
clear. Our county treasurer has been arrested 3 times. In spite of that, she goes to the commissioner's court last week and asks for a 40% pay increase. Now, that's probably a little tone deaf in my opinion.
Very.
But nonetheless, this is how Harris County is operating.
Well, I just wondered when I saw that and I read in the paper, how did she not go to prison? Because what happened to the 3 strikes and you're out code of conduct for, especially for public employees like that?
Well, I mean, the 3 strikes and you're out statute under the Criminal Code of Texas was a long time ago. They've abandoned that. Obviously, you know that if you have 3 strikes against you, the Harris County courts will grant you a personal recognizance bond so you can go out and commit more crimes. What happened with the treasurer is that our district attorney probably didn't pursue the charges. So I haven't followed her criminal problems.
Right.
I've been focused on running for county judge and trying to bring some civility back to the commissioner's court.
Well, we've all been enraged about I don't ever knock anybody for getting a pay raise in their salary. I think everybody needs a good bump in their salary and stuff like that. But one minute, people are going to get a giant pay raise, a good pay raise, a healthy one. But on the other minute, we get the news that the county is $168 million short going into their budget. So do we have the money? Do we not have the money? And I asked a friend of mine, are we over there writing hot checks or something? What's the deal?
So here's how government works. We don't have the money. Remember that for 26 years, when Harris County was run by a more conservative court, both Republicans and Democrats, they never raised the tax rate. Yes, it's true that appraisals went up as Harris County grows and people move in, you create a demand, and when there's a demand for real estate, it drives up the prices. But the county never raised the tax rate. This year, Lanny, not only are the appraisals higher than they were last year, which means if the county did nothing, they would still take in a new $110 million. But because they're on such a spending spree, that's not enough. So they decided to hammer the taxpayers for $325 million more dollars. And they still haven't put money into our rainy day fund. We used to have a rainy day fund of about $350 million. So as you can see, it's a little discombobulated with our current county leadership.
So we're not. Are we robbing Peter to pay Paul, or are we just robbing Peter and Paul?
Well, the county operates like any family that's in debt. Most of us, if we have a little crisis situation, we'll pull out the Visa card or the American Express or the MasterCard, and we'll charge it. The county does the same thing. When counties are needing money, they go to Wall Street and they borrow money.
Right.
But as you deplete your cash available and you deplete your reserves and your borrowing continues to go up, just like our FICO score, counties are rated by 3 rating agencies on Wall Street. And the danger is, as we borrow more and more money, our bond rating, the interest rate will increase. Well, that puts pressure on our overall debt, so that now we have to pay more tax money for our debt service. So it's just like any family that's out of control, that doesn't have a budget, that has high credit cards. The county's the same way.
Well, I just remember, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, people sort of slept in on the night of election, or night before the election, and everyone thought Ed Emmett was just going to win, and no one showed up to vote. So I'm really telling people, you got to get out there and you really have to vote, and you got to vote your conscience and vote for the right person for county judge, because these things just don't happen overnight. A lot of people put a lot of effort into it. Like, you're on the road every day, all day and night, meeting with people and listening to their concerns. And so I appreciate everything you do. I appreciate everyone that serves the public. I mean, I really, really do. Policemen, officers who want to take a bullet for all of us on the line, I respect them and I honor them. And I'm glad that people like yourself want to get involved. They want to make change happen for the good, for the future of Harris County and the city of Houston. And I know that, well, the first 2 things of holding public office is you got to have public safety and you have to have infrastructure. So where are we on public safety? Because I know we've gotten some good news that criminal crime, violent crime, has been dropping down somewhat in Harris County. But do we have enough police officers and sheriff's officers to go around?
Well, so that's a great question. Let me begin by saying that Harris County has many incorporated cities inside of Harris County. So we have Bel Air, West University, the city of Houston, Pasadena, LaPorte, we have Baytown, we have Spring Valley. All of these are little tiny municipalities. And if you've watched the shenanigans at the commissioner's court, you can tell that the commissioners can't get along with each other.
Yeah, I picked up on that. I'm sorry. It isn't funny, but it is a circus down there at times.
So it's a circus among themselves.
Right.
And then the county has to work with all the cities, including the city of Houston, which is the 800-pound gorilla in our county. Well, you've seen the relationship between Lena Hidalgo and John Whitmire is toxic. And not only is Lena Hidalgo's relationship with the mayor of the city of Houston toxic, but she has no relationship with the state of Texas or the federal government. So we can't get anything done. We have to work cooperatively. We have to work with all the cities. We have to work with John Whitmire. We have to work with Austin. And we have to work with our federal congressional delegation. That hasn't happened for 8 years. And so that's why you see Harris County is suffering from the lack of attention and funds that we should be receiving from the Department of Transportation, from Health and Human Services, from the Texas Department of Health. We just don't work cooperatively with our partners. And so, back to your question, everybody says we don't have enough police officers. Well, let me give you this fact. Yes, Houston doesn't have enough police officers, and Harris County doesn't have enough sheriff deputies. But when you combine all of the police officers in Harris County, we have 15,571 law enforcement officers, all certified by the state of Texas, all funded by the taxpayers of Harris County. So I called the mayor and had a conversation with him. I said, Mayor, why don't we have a memorandum of understanding so that when Lanny Griffith calls 911 and says there is a burglar in my house with a gun, we will dispatch the first available law enforcement officer, regardless of agency. It can be a sheriff, it can be a constable, it can be a Houston police officer, it can be a Houston Independent School District, it can be a Metro cop, it can be any of the 63 law enforcement agencies that exist in Harris County. Mayor thought, what a good idea. So again, we have to work cooperatively to cut costs and help our citizens when they're in times of need.
Well, I know you went to Bel Air High School, and I went to Lee High School in Baytown, and all my Baytown homies they're still in Baytown, and we go down there every so often during the year to visit the Baytown friends and see how things are going out there in East Harris County. But then they remind me, hey, Landman, we don't live in Baytown anymore. In fact, we don't even live in Harris County. In the last 8 years, they've gotten up and moved north of I-10 to go live in Chambers County because they don't want to live in Harris County because they don't like the way the money's being spent, or where the money's being spent, how it's being spent, and the fact that there's never enough money, so that the taxes are going to be raised, like we've said in the last 2024 and then 2026. And my friends who I grew up with, they tell me to get in here today, talk to you. They're mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore, in the word of Eddie Childs from the 1980s. And I said, I agree with you on that. I am mad as hell. I don't want to take it anymore. So that's why I'm getting involved in helping you get on top of the hill up there as our county judge and make things happen for the better.
Well, here's yesterday I was in Baytown, and
Okay.
I don't know if you remember Daniel's Barbecue and
Oh yeah.
Meat House, but
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to meet the owner. I'd never met Jack, great guy down in Baytown, and we had a great 2-hour conversation. I got an earful about how taxes are hammering his business. They're
Yeah.
hurting his business because, when people go out to eat, Lanny, it's because they have a few extra dollars in their pocket.
Right.
But when Harris County comes in and says, oh, by the way, you got to pay us $500 more in property taxes every year. And then you mentioned something important. You said that a lot of people are leaving Harris County. Harris County only had a 1% population increase year over year. So even if you take our population increase, which was 1%, and you add in inflation, which is between 1 and 3%, but let's be generous. Let's say it was 3%. That's a 4% increase, population growth and inflation. That would be, okay, a reasonable tax increase, 4%, just to keep up with population growth and tax increase.
Right.
I mean, and a population growth and inflation. No, they decided they want 4 times that much, 12%. They're just hammering us.
I just don't understand where they think the money's going to come from. And I also I'm a big fan of Greg Grugan's What's Your Point on Fox, and I know you're on pretty often. Not often enough for me. I'd love for you to be on every single Sunday with Greg and the gang up there. But Bill King said last week that 43,000 people left Harris County in 2025. 43,000 taxpayers got up and left. That's a big deficit to try to make ends meet with that many people leaving the county.
Well, not only are people leaving the county, but as you know, Texas cities and counties compete against each other economically. Yeah. So Austin and Travis wants to attract the high-tech business. We're trying to attract energy businesses, biomedical businesses, more students to our universities. But here's a sad fact. Today I learned that my opponent has hooked up with some very radical environmental groups to stop the dredging at the Houston Ship Channel. Now, that may sound good. Hey, we have to protect the environment and this and that and the other. But think about this. The largest generator of revenue in this region is the Port of Houston. It's approaching like a $10 billion operation for our region.
Right.
Now, let me give you a statistic. If you don't dredge the ship channel, you raise the amount of sediment at the ship channel. That means that the ships coming in, they need 34 feet of draft. And let's say that the silt fills it up. So to raise the ship by 1 foot, they have to unload $2 million worth of cargo on some other ship. You see how that has a terrible effect on the economy of our
Right.
region?
I mean, we have to keep the ship channel dredged year round. It's not just a once in a while kind of a deal. It has to always be prepared for the incoming and outgoing freighters that are going in and out.
There's
I
no
don't get it
question
at
because all of our bios, San Jacinto River, all of our tributaries dump into Buffalo Bio, dumps into the ship channel, and over the months, all that rain creates silt, and that sits at the bottom of the ship channel. But, you know, people want to stop economic activity in Harris County. That's what my opponent is supporting, and that just hurts everybody. All of the stevedoring company, all of the truck drivers taking containers out of there, all of the warehouses. I mean, the ship channel is a massive industry.
I tell you, every time we go out to San Jacinto Inn, the Monument Inn for seafood, we sit out there and look in the window and look at all the ships going in and out. And I tell my kids, you know, when you see them sitting up really high, that means they're empty and they've already emptied their load of crude oil coming into the refineries. When they coming in low, they're like 40 to 50 feet down below the water surface is the actual hull of the ships, and that's how deep it's got to be down there. So everyone in the Monument Inn watching the ships going in and out are all concerned that these ships are coming in almost not completely full, but only half full because they really can't make it through like you said, the silt that's building up at the bottom of the ship channel, and that makes no business sense whatsoever.
Right.
And also, I was thinking, well, if we don't have any money for all the things that our current judge wants us to do, where do we get this $2.5 million to give to the district attorney's office to try to come to some resolution between the man that was killed on Canino Street in East Harris County? The judge wants to give him $2.5 million over a 3-year period to do a study of what? Crime behavior? And where does the $2.5 million come from?
Well, it comes from the taxpayers.
Yeah.
First of all, let me begin by saying that incident with ICE and Mr. Salgado on Canal Street was a tragedy. No one should lose their life because they have an immigration civil detainer. We don't know all the facts yet. And so, you know, there's all kinds of people opining and jumping to conclusions. And so we're all waiting for the investigation to resolve itself. But your specific question is, where do we get $2.5 million to transfer to Shantier to investigate a case that's already being investigated by the Texas Rangers, by the Inspector General's Office of the Department of Homeland Security, probably by the Justice Department? So why are you hammering the taxpayers for $2.5 million? I can tell you this. Since that decision was made, I've had 4 families come to me whose children have been killed by random shootings, and there has been no resolution to those cases. They're asking me, where's our $2.5 million to close the case on the death of my child? And that's sad because I don't have an answer. But if that isn't enough, as you know, Harris County Commissioner's Court is using our property taxpayer money to fund the legal defense for undocumented aliens in Harris County. I mean, that's not a priority of the counties. As you started your program by saying, the county should be about public safety and infrastructure. That's right. It should be about providing legal defense to folks that are here without documentation. And so we probably have a million great programs we could do. You know, it's like at your home, you probably would like to add new paving around your swimming pool, and I heard that your personal sauna is probably could use some improvement, and
Yeah.
your multi-million-dollar. We all want a better car, better landscaping, more pools, but we can't afford it, right? Because we live with a budget.
Right.
Harris County doesn't seem to have a budget because they think that we, the taxpayers of Harris County, can provide them endless amounts of money for them to go waste it.
Well, when we were talking about $2.5 million to go to the district DA's office, I was thinking, because I'm a real big fan of Crime Stoppers and Andy Kahn and all the people that go work down there, and I go to as many of their meetings as I can for parents of murdered children, and I've never seen anybody offer them $2.5 million to try to solve a crime or to help with families that are going through the criminal justice system. It's like we all of a sudden feel so sorry for the person who's accused of the murder, and the person who's been murdered is now a mere footnote at the very bottom of the story. And oh, by the way, Bob Smith was the person who was murdered in this case that seems to be dragging on forever. Okay, Bob Smith should be the very first name that goes onto the storyline, not the person who's charged with the murder. And they've got, I don't know, somehow it's gotten all turned around and it's backwards. And that bothers me a lot, because I thank God I have not had a homicide in my family or any very hard criminal events happen to my family, but I know plenty of friends who have, and it's atrocious when for them to read the paper or see the evening news and see the glorification of the person who's actually caused the problem.
Well, just a little trivia for you. I started my career in 1992 with Harris County as a Harris County probation officer. I supervised hundreds of felons and misdemeanors assigned to 4 courts in Harris County. And my desk mate was Andy Kahn. That's how far back we go.
Oh, good. He's a good guy to work with. Wonderful.
Yeah, but, you know, Andy has a great quote. He says that victims are the only non-participants in the criminal justice system.
Right.
And the criminal justice system in Harris County, as you say, has diminished their priority in the list of priorities at the district attorney's office.
Right.
And that's sad. That's
Right.
really sad.
Well, I was going to, everything that I've known about you, because I've known you since you were a at-large council member back in the day, and you've always been assigned to financial committees, financial committee on city council, budget hearings as your county treasurer. You must love working with, I suck at math. I can add and subtract and multiply and divide, but I'm not, don't ask me to look at your books and try to figure out how to pay your taxes. I'm not good at that. That's why I'm in journalism. I write and talk and everything, because I can't do all the arithmetic that you can do. But you seem to have a passion for that sort of stuff, of juggling money and keeping the numbers all in the right column. Have you always been a sort of a bookworm about math and finance?
I guess to answer that question is no, but somehow or another, I got asked to serve on the board of directors of a bank 18 years ago. And I think our bank started with about 200 million in assets, and we're now approaching $1 billion in assets. Several years ago, I was asked to sit on the board of the largest privately held hospital corporation in America called HCA Hospital. And then probably about 12 years ago, I was asked to sit on the board of the University of Houston Foundation to help manage $500 million. And you're right. Every year when I was a city councilman, we managed about $2 billion for the city of Houston. So in total, in the aggregate, I oversaw $12 billion just for the city of Houston. And then as county treasurer, you know that Harris County is a $9 billion annual operation when you take in the Port of Houston, the hospital district, the Harris County Toll Road Authority, the flood control district, and Harris County operations. So I don't know how it happened, Lanny, other than I'm a fiscal hawk. I don't like to spend more than we take in.
Right.
And I like to have a little savings account for hurricanes and floods and emergencies. So I guess people thought that I had done an effective job of managing budgets, that I got asked to sit on all these boards and learn about, you know, but during my time as county treasurer, I also received my certification as a county investment officer. So I'm the only one that's been certified as a county investment officer to oversee the public's funds. But also remember that when I was on the city council, Lanny, we actually led a bipartisan charge to cut property taxes in the city of Houston. And I'll never forget that when we proposed to cut property taxes in the city of Houston, my dear friend Judon Boney turned to me and says, "Orlando, that's like saving a Happy Meal for a family of 4 every year." And I said, well, at least it's, you know, it's a little change in our taxpayers' pockets. But this is how people think about government, is that the taxpayer should be hammered and should be paid more.
Right. It's amazing. I go to bed at night and I think, do people really realize they're going to be paying more money for everything we do if we raise our taxes? And everyone is already talking, and the restaurant people have been really good to come out and say there is no bouncing back from 2.5 years of COVID. There is no bouncing back. The prices are going to be going up. Beef prices are going up, and so and we know on the menu, we've been going to the same restaurants for 20 odd years, and we've seen the prices go up, and they shake their head and say we can't do it. We can't serve the same food and the same quality we were serving 5 or 6 years ago because we are getting we're getting screwed right and left on both sides here. So it's amazing that people want to raise our taxes and pay even that much more to try to make ends meet. But now tell me again why you want to be the judge of Harris County, because I know it's in your heart and you feel like you're the right person for the job, and I think you're the right person for the job. But what are your goals when you become judge to happen? What are the first priorities you want to look at when you get in?
So, if you will allow me, I'm going to take you back 69 years ago.
Sure.
I was born in Havana, Cuba, and then the socialist communists moved in, and we fled Cuba. My father decided to pick us up and take us to Caracas, Venezuela. My father was a broadcaster, a sportscaster, and he got a job broadcasting baseball in Caracas, Venezuela. But unfortunately, despite the fact that Venezuela sits on the world's largest oil reserves, they also had a communist movement, and you've seen what's happened to Venezuela. They're flat broke, even though they sit on the world's largest reserve of oil. And my father happened to be in the United States on baseball business in New York when he got a telegram from a guy named Roy Hoffhines, who was the former county judge of Harris County. And he said, Houston has been awarded its first professional baseball franchise. They're going to be called the Colt 45s. Can you come to Houston so we can interview you? So my dad jumped on a flight and came to Houston in 1961 and met with Judge Hoffhines. And it was the latter part of the year, and they were about to start spring training in Apache Junction, Arizona. These were young ball players like Bob Aspermani and Rusty Stubb and Joe Morgan, and you remember all that.
Oh, yeah.
And my father said to Judge Hoffhines, I'd love to, but I'm here on a tourist visa and I have to go back to Caracas to apply for a work visa. And direct quote from my father, the judge said, don't worry about that. I'll call my friend Lyndon Johnson. And the next thing you know, my mother and myself and my sibling got another telegram in Venezuela, said, get on a flight, come to Miami. And we moved to Houston. I arrived in Houston on May 14th, 1962. And the first place that I stayed was a little motel across from the Princess Burger Stand at OST in Maine called, the Surrey House Motel. Most people won't remember that.
Yeah.
But it was close enough so that we didn't have a car. So we could walk to the ballpark. So my first experience was walking to Colt Stadium every night to watch the Astros while my dad broadcast the games. So this is a long way to answer your question. I was watching the other day Ronald Reagan's last speech in his presidency in the White House, and it was a beautiful speech because he said, America, you can move to Moscow, but you will never become a Russian. You can move to China, but you will never be a Chinese. You can move to Japan, but you won't be a Japanese. Anyone can move to America and become an American. That's my story. I moved to America in Houston in 1962, brought here by the former Harris County Judge Roy Hoffhines. And I'm telling you, I'm not walking away from this county, and it pains me to see the direction that this, I did a poll before I got into this race. 55% of residents and voters in Harris County believe Harris County is on the wrong track. That's why I'm in it. I want to fix it. I want to get us back on track and make sure that Harris County continues to attract the businesses so that we can all flourish.
Well, we appreciate it. I appreciate it, and thank you for pulling over this afternoon and visiting with us here on the internet on our channel here. We're going to get this out, and the website has been on the screen, OrlandoSanchez.com. for volunteers, donations, worker bees, people that are block walking for you. So go to the website and learn more about you and about your campaign and where you're going to be. September is going to be a big month for you. I know you've got a lot of bookings going on, but you still may have some openings. And if people want you to come by, if they go to your website, can they just sign up and say, please come visit us over here and visit us over there and take consideration visiting these little neighborhoods to see what they're up to. So the website is going to be helpful in directing everyone around to finding you and you finding them.
Yeah, and
Well,
don't forget Facebook. We post everything on Facebook. And let me just say real quickly, you said you've known me since I was on city council. I've known you since I was in high school from the radio.
Everybody does. I'm not that old. But
I didn't say anything. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, no, Jim Pruitt said, of the Stevens and Pruitt show, he said, well, you know, we were album-oriented rock. Now we're classic rock. He said, actually, we're back down to the oldies over here at this point from the old KLOL gang from the 80s. But it was a lot of fun. We met a lot of people, and all of them are on my Facebook page. I talked every day to people that grew up with all of us in the 80s and going through college and med school and stuff. And even my I say poor doctor, he's very rich. He cracked up one day and said, "I can't." He said, "It's hard for me to come in and treat you as a person because I knew you as the traffic master because traffic and bondage, that meant traffic is always tied up somewhere." And he said, "I think about that all the time. It just cracks me up the way you guys would roll off that comedy like that at 6 o'clock in the morning." I said, "We're just funny people from a very funny place called Houston, and we love where we're from. And Stevens and Pruitt were from Houston too, so they were good guys to work with." Thanks so much. We'll see you on the campaign trail, and thanks for tuning in to Lanny as a podcast. All the information is about to come right down here. We'll process this and get it out and spam it out across the universe, and everyone can take a look and listen to the conversation and go out and help you with your campaign. Thank you so much, Orlando.
Thank you, Lanny. Appreciate you having me.
You bet. Good
Enjoy
seeing
your
you.
weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks.